Welcome. This is State Senator Mark Jansen, and today I have with me as my guest State Senator Ron Jelinek. He is the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, and he is my colleague here in the State Senate. So welcome.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me here today.
My pleasure. And what I like to do is kind of educate my community on what happens here in Lansing, and I'm very happy you're here with me today because you play a very important role in what we do here in Lansing as Chair of Appropriations. And for the folks listening, I'm going to have you kind of tell us maybe a little bit about your background because we've been in the House of Representatives together.
That's right.
We were part of the freshman class back then, and now I've joined you in the Senate, and you've been here quite a while ahead of me. So what I'd like to do is just have you kind of talk about kind of how you got into the legislature and kind of move into the role you're in now and what that kind of means.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. And of course, you know, we aren't born legislators. Most of us have had a life before that of some sort, and my life was in the classroom. I taught school for 30 years, and I also live on the farm where I grew up, and I have farmed all my life. So those were my prerequisites, I guess, to coming to the legislature. But at one point, the House of Representatives, a state representative seat in my district opened up, and I decided to run for it. I was fortunate enough to get elected to that, same time you were. It was a good time. Times were better then. We had more money then, I'll say that. We had different leadership, and everything was not too bad at the time.
Right.
Of course, we were there for 6 years. I was fortunate enough, my second term, our second term, I was able to go from policy to the Appropriations Committee and the appropriations process. I was able to be appointed chair of the K-12 budget in the state, in the House, so I chaired the school aid budget for 4 years in the House, and then we came over here to the Senate, and I was able to stay on appropriations and remain chair of the school aid budget and the Department of Ed budget. Those budgets go together. And now, a little over 2 years ago, when we started the new session, I might say my last session in the Senate, my second term, I was fortunate enough to be appointed chair of the entire appropriations process in the Senate. So, you know, it's been a kind of an evolution to get to this point. It's been interesting. Times are not nearly as good today as they were 12 years ago when we started.
Yes.
But they're challenging, and we're doing our best to maintain that challenge and to do the best service for the state with the finances we have, and trying not to hurt the people in the process.
Yeah. Well, thinking about your district, you've had some what I call unique pieces of work you have to do because you're on the border between Michigan and Indiana. Can you just tell us what happens on a border county district that is unusual to mine in Grand Rapids?
Sure. Well, I'll just say I represent the 21st Senate District, and that is Berrien County, Cass County, most of Van Buren County. Berrien and Cass counties are our state line border. Two of our border counties, we border Indiana. We are always in competition with our neighbors. You know, we worry about our businesses going from Michigan to some other state. I worry about our businesses going from Michigan 10 feet south of the border to Indiana. We have to keep our businesses and our products competitive in price. So if we were to force, let's say, raise the gas tax, immediately we've put a huge stress on our service stations, gas stations, because if Indiana doesn't raise their gas tax, why would you buy gas in Michigan? And the same is true with cigarettes, beer, wine, any of those things. Plus, of course, just generally doing business, the business tax we deal with. Now, when somebody's looking to land a new business somewhere, we have to compete with the fact that Indiana may say, well, we'll give you the land and build you a building if you'll come to LaPorte, Indiana or somewhere, and we have to compete with that. So being a border county is challenging, challenging for its citizens. You may not feel that as much in the Grand Rapids area, but it's very real when you get down south.
All right. And you also have been working on bottle returns, and there's a lot of folks coming from southern parts of, well, Indiana, but south of you, and coming into Michigan to get 10 cents on the can, and you've been also working on that.
That's been a major issue, and we are working to solve it. But you know, part of the problem is if the can says 10 cents, you get a dime back for it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of these bottlers are selling cans in Indiana that say 10 cents. So it's very easy to bring that can to Michigan and redeem a dime, even if you didn't buy it in Michigan. Technically, that's fraud. It's against the law. But who's going to be able to police the fact that this can was sold in Indiana and not in Michigan? As a matter of fact, you can buy that can I got one of those cans in Colorado. You know, you can get them just about anywhere in the country, and you can bring them back. It is fraud. It cheats our citizens. So we have to do something to fix it, and we are. We're working on a special stamp that will be found on the bottom of a can or a bottle that was sold in Michigan. You won't get that mark in Indiana or Ohio or anywhere else. And so that when you put that into the machine will reject it because it wasn't purchased here. We hope to break the habit of our neighbors coming in and taking our dimes. So we're working on that. And again, it puts our retailers at a big disadvantage when they didn't sell the pop, but they have to redeem the dime. So, you know, it hurts. So it's something we're working on to fix.
Good, good. All right, well, let's get into the appropriations process, because a lot of folks, when I come back home and I talk, maybe before groups, I talk about what committees I'm on, and we're on appropriations committees together in some form or fashion. There's a large appropriations committee, which is, I think it's about 17 or 18 members.
18 members.
Which you chair, that's both parties. And then I have a subcommittee, and you have subcommittees, and so all of us are on different subcommittees. But kind of help folks understand that appropriations and what it means, the process.
Sure. Well, you know, in Michigan, to run the entire Michigan budget, all the spending in Michigan, we're spending in excess of $40 billion. And somebody has to budget that, just like at home. When you get your paycheck, you have to budget out. I can spend so much on groceries, so much on rent and car payments and all those normal things. We have the same thing here. Only thing is we're not talking about groceries and car payments, but we're certainly talking about education. We're talking about human, you know, health and welfare, and roads and agriculture and state police, and you know, on and on.
Yes.
About 19 different budgets. We have to budget for those. And so, of course, what we have to do is we have to be able to look at our revenues, how much money comes in. This is tax money that is collected, and we have to divide it up among all of these budgets. And that's what the appropriations process is all about. Now, some of these monies that we collect are what we call restricted funds. You can only use them for their given purpose. For instance, all of us that own homes pay what we call an SET, state education tax of 6 mills on our homes. We all pay that. That money must go to the school aid budget by law, by Constitution, as a matter of fact. The same thing is true with the lottery. Every time you buy a lottery ticket, if you spend $1 on your lottery ticket, about 34 cents of that will go directly to the school aid budget. By law, it must go there. The rest of that money, by the way, goes to the expense of running the lottery, giving the prizes, all that sort of thing. But all the profits, the net profits, go to the school aid fund. Those are restricted dollars. We can't do anything else with them except use them where they go. Same thing is true with your gas tax. It's restricted. It must go to roads. We can't use it for general operations. So when you get down to it, we have about $8 billion, little over $8 billion that we actually have some latitude with, that we can decide where to spend it on which budgets. And by the way, we have no restricted dollars for higher education. That's all general fund money.